When Jim Carrey walked out of his Malibu art studio at 2:47 a.m. and found a 9-year-old boy sleeping in the back seat of his car, he didn't call the police. Tuesday, November 12, 2017. Malibu, California. The Pacific Coast Highway was silent except for distant waves. Jim's private studio sat on a cliff overlooking the ocean, 800 square feet. White walls covered in paintings nobody had seen. The smell of oil paint and turpentine thick enough to taste. Jim had been painting since 11 p.m. Canvas after canvas, bright colors, dark themes. The rubber face that made millions laugh was completely still, eyes focused on something deeper. He needed air. Walked outside, noticed his car door slightly open. That's when he saw him, a boy, curled up in the back seat, dirty jeans, torn sneakers, using Jim's gym bag as a pillow, sleeping. But here's what nobody knew. What Jim did in the next 8 hours, what he'd been secretly doing for months, and what gets revealed about that boy's connection to Jim's own past will make you understand why the funniest people carry the heaviest weight. Stay with us, because what was in that boy's backpack, what Jim recognized immediately, and the promise made at 3 a.m. in that car will change how you see everything. Jim stood there for 37 seconds, just watching. The boy couldn't have been older than 9, maybe 10. His face pressed against the leather seat, breathing steady, peaceful. Jim's hands were still covered in paint, blue and gray, the colors he always used when painting memories he couldn't escape. He opened the car door slowly, quietly. The boy's eyes shot open, terrified. "Please don't call the cops," the boy whispered. "Please, I'll leave. I'm sorry." Jim knelt down, eye level. Hey, it's okay. Nobody's calling anyone." The boy stared, recognition flickering across his face. You're Jim Carrey." "I'm Jim," he said simply. "What's your name?" "Daniel." "Daniel, how long have you been sleeping in my car?" The boy looked down. "Just tonight. I'm sorry. I saw it was unlocked and I'm really cold at night and..." "Where are your parents?" Silence. "Daniel?" "My mom's at the hospital," the boy said quietly. "She's been there for 6 days. Cancer, stage 4. And my dad, he left when I was 5. It's just us, and I can't pay for the motel anymore and..." His voice cracked. He was trying so hard not to cry. Jim's face went completely still. The face that could transform into 1,000 characters. Frozen. "What hospital?" Jim asked. "UCLA Medical. She's in the oncology ward, room 847. Jim stood up, walked to his studio, came back with a blanket, wrapped it around Daniel. "You hungry?" Daniel nodded. "Come inside. But to understand what happened next, you have to go back. You have to go back past the $20 million paychecks, past Ace Ventura and the mask, past the laughter, past all of it. You have to go back to 1978, Newmarket, Ontario, Canada. A VW van parked outside various locations around Toronto. Music Jim Carrey was 16 years old. His father, Percy, had lost his job as an accountant. His mother, Kathleen, was bedridden with chronic pain, and the family had nowhere to live. Inside that van, Jim, his parents, his siblings, sleeping in shifts, freezing in Canadian winters, invisible to everyone walking past. By day, Jim dropped out of high school. By night, the entire family worked as janitors at Titan Wheels factory. 8-hour shifts. Jim's hands, the ones that would one day sign Hollywood contracts, holding a mop, cleaning toilets, scrubbing factory floors. He was 16, living in a van, working nights, completely invisible. "Why don't people see us?" Jim had asked his father one night in that van. Percy looked at his son. "Because people don't want to see struggle, Jim. It makes them uncomfortable, so they pretend we're not here." "Will it always be like this?" "No," Percy said firmly. "You're going to do something incredible. I know it. But when you do, promise me something." "What?" "Promise me you'll see the people nobody else sees." Jim promised. He never forgot. November 12, 2017, 3:15 a.m. Jim's studio. Daniel sat at the small table. Jim made him a sandwich, heated up soup, watched this 9-year-old boy eat like he hadn't seen food in days. "When did you last eat?" Jim asked. "Yesterday morning, the hospital cafeteria. They let me get breakfast sometimes." Jim's jaw tightened. "You've been at the hospital?" "I sleep in the waiting room, but security kicks me out at midnight. so I walk around, try to find somewhere warm. For how long? 6 nights. Daniel was 9 years old, sleeping in hospital waiting rooms, getting kicked out at midnight, walking the streets of Los Angeles, alone. Jim pulled out his phone. "What's your mom's name?" Sarah Mitchell." Jim typed something, put the phone down. "Daniel, I need you to tell me the truth. Do you have anyone, family, friends?" "No, my mom's parents died when she was young. She has a sister, but they don't talk. It's just us. Always has been." "And your dad?" Daniel's face hardened. "He didn't want us. Said we were too much work. Left on my 5th birthday." Music. Jim's hands started shaking. Not the manic energy from the movies, something else, something breaking open. "Daniel," Jim said quietly, "can I see your backpack?" The boy hesitated, handed it over. Jim opened it. Inside, one change of clothes, a toothbrush, a worn copy of The Giving Tree, and a drawing. Jim pulled out the drawing, stared at it. It was a picture of a woman, smiling, colored pencils, the word "Mom," written at the top in a child's handwriting, and at the bottom, smaller, "When she gets better." Jim's eyes filled with tears. "I draw her every day," Daniel said, "so I don't forget what she looks like when she's happy." The silence in that studio was complete. No paint sounds, no ocean, just Jim Carrey, 6 feet 2 inches, face that could become anyone, crying in front of a 9-year-old boy. "Daniel," Jim said, his voice barely above a whisper, "you're not alone anymore." Jim made a phone call at 3:47 a.m., then another, then 5 more. By 6 a.m., everything was different. A social worker arrived, verified Daniel's story. Sarah Mitchell, age 34, stage 4 pancreatic cancer, no family, no money, no options. Daniel had been on his own for 6 days. Jim drove Daniel to UCLA Medical Center, 6:30 a.m. They walked into room 847 together. Sarah was awake, barely, thin, pale. But when she saw her son, her face transformed. "Danny," she whispered. Daniel ran to her. "Mom, I found help. This is Jim. He's going to help us." Sarah looked at Jim, recognition, confusion. "Jim? Carrey?" "Sarah," Jim said, pulling up a chair. "I'm going to ask you some questions, and I need you to trust me." Over the next hour, Jim learned everything. Sarah's diagnosis 8 months ago, the medical bills that bankrupted them, losing their apartment, Daniel sleeping in the car until it was repossessed, the motel that kicked them out when the money ran out. "I'm dying," Sarah said simply. "The doctor said 3 months, maybe 4. And Daniel will have nobody. That's all I think about. What happens to my son when I'm gone?" Jim's face went completely still again. That moment when the performer disappears and the real person shows up. "Listen to me," Jim said. "Both of you. That's not happening. You're getting treatment, real treatment, and Daniel's not sleeping in cars anymore. I'm taking care of this. Mr. Carrey, I can't." "You're not asking. I'm telling you. This is happening." By 8 a.m., Jim had made 12 more calls. By noon, Sarah Mitchell was transferred to Cedars-Sinai Medical Center. Private room. The best oncologists in California. Experimental treatment program. Cost $400,000. Jim paid for all of it. But here's where it gets deeper. Here's what nobody knew. For the next 4 months, Jim visited Sarah and Daniel every single day. Not Jim Carrey the movie star, just Jim, a guy who showed up, who sat with a dying woman, who helped a 9-year-old with homework, who brought dinner, who painted with Daniel during his mom's treatments. Nobody knew. No press, no cameras. Just a man keeping a promise he made to his father in a van in 1978. The experimental treatment was working, slowly. Sarah was getting stronger. The tumor was shrinking. March 2018. Daniel's 10th birthday. Sarah was still in treatment but improving. Jim threw Daniel a party in the hospital. Brought a cake, balloons, gifts. "Make a wish," Jim said. Daniel closed his eyes, blew out the candles. "What did you wish for?" Sarah asked. "That you get to come home," Daniel said. "And that Jim never leaves." Jim's face showed everything, the mask completely gone. "I'm not going anywhere, buddy." April 15th, 2018. Sarah's doctors called it a miracle. The tumor was 70% smaller. She was responding to treatment beyond anyone's expectations. I don't understand, Sarah said to Jim. Why are you doing this? You don't know us. Jim sat down, took a breath. When I was 16, my family lived in a van. We had nothing. Nobody helped us. Nobody even saw us. And I promised my father that if I ever had the chance to help someone invisible, I would. Daniel was sleeping in my car, just like I slept in a van. He's not invisible anymore. Neither are you. Sarah started crying. I don't know how to thank you. You already did. You raised an incredible kid. That's enough. But wait. The story doesn't end there. June 2018. Sarah was discharged from the hospital, in remission. Doctors called it unprecedented. Jim had set them up in an apartment, 2 bedrooms, near good schools, fully furnished, rent paid for 2 years. But Daniel noticed something. Jim looked tired, thinner. The manic energy was gone. Jim, are you okay? Daniel asked one afternoon. Jim smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. I'm fine, buddy. He wasn't fine. Jim was deep in depression again, the kind that had haunted him since he was 12, the kind that success never fixed, the kind he painted at 3 a.m. to survive. Daniel saw it, because he'd learned to see invisible things. You helped us, Daniel said. Now let me help you. How? Come draw with me, like you taught me. When you're sad, you create. You told me that. Music. So Jim started painting with Daniel every week, just the 2 of them, creating. No words needed, just colors and canvas and 2 people who understood what it meant to be invisible. And Jim got better, not cured. Depression doesn't work that way, but better, because he wasn't alone. September 2019, 2 years after that night in the car, Daniel, now 11, started a program at his school, See the Invisible. Teaching kids to notice homeless people, to see them as humans, to help. The program went viral, spread to 40 schools across California. Daniel was invited to speak at events, to share his story. I was invisible, Daniel told a room of 500 people at a school assembly. Sleeping in a car. Nobody saw me, except one person. And he didn't just see me. He saved my life, and my mom's life. And he taught me that being invisible is the worst kind of pain. So now I see everyone. The homeless person on the corner, the kid eating lunch alone, the parent struggling at the grocery store. I see them, because someone saw me. Jim was in the audience, tears streaming down his face, the rubber face showing everything. After the speech, a reporter approached Jim. Is this true? You found him sleeping in your car? Yeah, Jim said simply. Why didn't you tell anyone? Jim looked at Daniel, then back at the reporter. Because it wasn't about me, it was about him and his mom, and keeping a promise to my father. The story broke. Jim Carrey saves homeless boy. Headlines everywhere. But Jim didn't do interviews, didn't promote it, just went back to his studio, back to painting at 3 a.m., back to the work of staying alive. Today, Sarah Mitchell is cancer-free, 5 years in remission. She works as a patient advocate at Cedars-Sinai, helping other families navigate the system. Daniel is 16, the same age Jim was in that van. He runs See the Invisible Foundation now. Over 200 schools, helping thousands of homeless kids get resources. And every year, on November 12th, Daniel sleeps in Jim's car, voluntarily, to remember, to stay grateful, to never forget what invisible feels like. Jim joins him. They talk until 3 a.m. about life, about art, about depression, about seeing people. You saved my life, Daniel says every year. No, Jim always responds, you saved mine. Because somewhere in Malibu, at 2:47 a.m. on a Tuesday in 2017, a man who made millions laugh found something he'd been searching for since 1978. A chance to keep his promise. A chance to see someone invisible. A chance to be the person he needed when he was 16. And that changed everything. Before you go, drop a comment right now and tell us where you are watching from. New York, London, Mumbai, Tokyo. We read every single one. And we love knowing where our community is coming from all around the world. And if this story moved you even a little, if it made you think about the invisible people in your own life, please hit that like button right now. It takes 1 second, and it helps this story reach someone out there who really needs to hear it today. Because maybe you walk past someone invisible every single day. Maybe it's the homeless person on your corner. Maybe it's your coworker who eats lunch alone. Maybe it's your own kid who needs you to see them. This story is a reminder. See them. And if you are new here, welcome. Hit that subscribe button and join a community that believes success doesn't cure pain, but connection does. That seeing someone, really seeing them, can save a life. Share this video with one person today. Just one. Because that is exactly how hope travels. One person, one moment, one promise at a time. Now click on the video appearing on your screen right now because we have another Jim Carrey story that will break you open in the best way. We will see you there.